Welcome to Student Stories. I'm your host, Carmen Ramos-Chandler, and today we're talking with Stacy Withrow, who is graduating this May with her master's degree in marriage and family therapy. Welcome, Stacy.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
One of the main reasons we do this is we want to hear about your journey to CSUN. What led you to the university?
Well, in 2014, I had decided I wanted to, have a career change. And I had been working in the beauty industry as a makeup and brow artist for almost 30 years. And in that career, I worked one-on-one with women to build sort of wellness routines and to kind of help them with their confidence and their appearance. And I found that relational aspect of my job to be one of the most engaging and fulfilling parts, of that particular career. So when I decided I wanted to change careers, it seemed like going into psychology was going to be a good transition for me. So I went back to Santa Monica College as an adult returning student, and I started there. I graduated from there in 2017. I got into UCLA. I graduated from UCLA in 2020. And CSUN had one of the most well-respected programs for marriage and family therapy in California. It's COAMFT accredited. They require more hours than the rest of the schools that offer this program in Southern California. And the degree is much more portable because it meets the qualifications for a number of BBS requirements across the United States. So I applied here and I got in, and here I am.
What has your experience at CSUN been like?
My experience at CSUN has been amazing. I mean, it's a marriage and family therapy program, so obviously people are very humble and they're very transparent and also very supportive, whereas maybe in a business, degree department, it might not be that way. But I have found everyone here to just be extraordinarily supportive, always willing to help you achieve your goals, to offer you feedback in a really positive way, and to help you coordinate across classes with different professors and the rest of your students to make sure that you also have peer support and that you're still being held to a high standard while also being offered the just the warmth and encouragement that you need, especially if you're going through something challenging while you're here, as I am, as you know. So,
are you working while you're going to school, or how's?
Yes, I have been working until the end of my first year here at CSUN. And then I developed a second round of metastatic breast cancer. So at that time, I did stop working so that I could go into treatment, because at that time, my cancer had gotten into my brain. And so after brain radiation, you're just a little bit more fatigued. So it's kind of hard to juggle both. But up until 2 years ago, yes, I worked through my entire journey with coming back to school.
Have you been taking this journey by yourself, or do you have a partner or a family that have been here with you, or friends? Sometimes friends are the best family.
Yes. I mean, I have extraordinary friends, and I have been in a relationship for 14 years. I do have siblings. We're not in as much contact. We live kind of far away from each other, and my parents are all passed, but I do have support from my partner and my friends,
Why did you make that? A lot of people, upon receiving a cancer diagnosis, would say, that's it. I'm just going to focus on treatment and getting better. But you chose to continue your studies. Mind you, a little truncated.
Yes.
Adjustments were made.
Yes.
But why did you choose to continue?
Well, I think making a decision like that is really personal for each person. Yeah. It's about kind of what your specific needs are, which are really predicated on what your psychology is like. And, for me, I got cancer the first time when I was 38. It was a time in my life where the rest of my friends and peers were getting married, having families, moving forward in their careers. And I was in a unique place where my career was kind of hitting a wall where I felt like I couldn't really grow anymore in that in that area. And I felt really strongly that I needed to make a change. And because of the cancer, starting a family and getting married at that time were things that were taken off the table for me. So I really needed something to focus on that made me feel like my life was still moving forward. And school was that thing for me, being focused on that career change and having something that was really meaningful for me to engage in and to also make achievements in too. I come from a sort of a history where I didn't really go to a traditional high school situation. And I was coming back as an adult, and it was important to me to prove to myself that I actually had the academic acumen, that I could study, that I could get good grades, that I could, operate not just in the creative aspect of life, which is really where I was before, but more in the professional and more mature part of life that I was entering in as a 38-year-old woman.
Mm-hmm. And you chose therapy, family marriage therapy.
Yeah.
Do you think your experiences will inform your practice?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I actually got referred a client recently who is dealing with a degenerative muscular illness. And she was really struggling and with her last two therapists because there's just an inability to really understand the pressure and the intensity around living with something that you're going to be with your whole life and you're going to decline throughout the process of that disease. And not having a therapist that can be with you in that intensity and that can also understand why everything else in your life gets also more intense because of this and how it changes relationships can make therapy difficult. So in getting that referral, I find that I actually have a lot to offer people who are going through really intense, medical trauma and it translates to other areas of trauma too, just to be able to be present with people who are having really intense emotions, who are dealing with something that is nearly impossible to cope with, and they don't have anybody else that can understand. It actually shows up with all of my clients and is really helpful.
As you look back, we do have a lot of returning students here, as you are. What would you say to a younger you who is contemplating taking this step? Because you're dealing with medical issues, you're dealing with a successful career.
Yeah.
And you got to the fork in the road and you chose to take the path not normally trodden by someone at your age and your time in life, where your career is clearly on the career you originally chose, was clearly on a path of success. That was quite daring.
Yeah. I live in Southern California, and I feel like it's pretty normal here to have more than one career in life. And so I did have the experiences of the community at large and just, the broader social community at large in Southern California, where people do change careers. They get tired of doing one thing. They want to do something else, or their original career doesn't fit in their life anymore, or they want more freedom or something. So I guess I would say maybe the same things that kind of helped me to feel inspired is that, your life is your own and you're the only person that's ever going to be the cruise director of this experience that we're having. And, how do you want to spend your time and to really get clear and defined about how you want your life to feel, and what do you want to feel about the life that you're living, and to let that really motivate you and push you forward in your decision making, even if you're coming up against something that feels really hard, And for me personally, I just don't like to lose. In that way, I don't compete with other people, but I really compete with the internal part of myself. I don't like to feel like I didn't give my best, that I didn't really give everything that I'm doing like the best shot. I would walk away from that and it would have affected my self-image, So for me, if I decide I'm going to do something and I make up my mind, I will go toward that with 100% fervor, and I will not stop until I accomplish it. And I'm really grateful for that trait in myself, and I feel like I've gleaned that inspiration from watching other people achieve similar challenging goals at inopportune times of their life. And I spend a lot of time, maybe not a lot of time, but my social media is full of leadership and, motivational speakers and people that have really overcome things. And I use that as a tool to keep myself motivated and to remember that I'm just not the only person going through something hard. So I would maybe suggest for somebody who's struggling with their motivation or their self-confidence about whether or not they can do something is to surround yourself with people that have already done it. Look up to the people that have already done it with awe and inspiration. Never compare yourself to anybody else, but let your emotions of your desire and your envy tell you what it is that's important to you in life, and look for people that have already carved that path out for you. And if there is no path, look to those entrepreneurs, look to those people who spearhead new things and take inspiration from that and absorb it and move forward.
I know you chose marriage and family therapy because you wanted to be a therapist, but part of it, for all students who major in getting the master's in it, you see clients. What is that like? Because there's a stereotype that, you're a student. You don't do things like that.
Right.
What is that like to work with individuals who aren't your peers, but you're actually seeing clients who are going to you for professional help before you've gotten your degree?
It's actually really wonderful. Excuse me. When you are in an academic program and the whole of your program is study, conceptualizing, trying to prepare for that first client, you can get to the point where you start to kind of burn out, like, what am I doing this for, And for marriage and family therapy, and for me, I'm doing it so that I can make connections with other people that provide them with the encouragement and support that they need to move forward in their life in whatever way is right for them. And that was what I loved about being in the beauty industry and working one-on-one with people. And that was why I came to this career in the first place. So when I finally did get to start seeing clients, it felt like a validation of the last 10, 11 years of work that I'd done to get to this point. Because keep in mind, I didn't have any previous college. I mean, I had to start from scratch. And between all my diagnoses and COVID and just other life stuff happening, something that should have taken me 5 or 6 years ended up taking me 12. And so to stay committed to that goal all throughout that work, when you're kind of on the drier side of marriage and family therapy, you're doing the prep work and studying, to finally get to that place where I could sit with another person and have the honor of hearing their life story and have the honor of reflecting back to them, like who they are and how they see themselves and their self-concept, and to respect their agency about how they want to move forward, and to be a witness to somebody going through something really difficult is the most special. It's the most special honor and responsibility that I feel like I can have in this life. And it was very reinforcing for me to continue to keep going.
Do you have a preference to whom your clients, who you will be serving?
That's actually really funny, because when I got into this master's program, I really thought I only wanted to work with women. I have a lot of experience in women's issues and women's trauma, and I felt like that was really where my skill set was. But I ended up at the Nest Counseling Center in West Los Angeles, and they actually specialize in criminality and court-mandated clients.
Really?
And they have a particular specialty in dealing with sex offenders. And so my early caseload was actually a number of, sex offenders, male and female, adolescent and adult. I also had some DV clients, and I had in one of my DV clients, I had a client.
Explain domestic violence.
Oh, yeah. DV is domestic violence. And in one of those cases, one of the participants was actually formerly incarcerated for murder. He had spent 25 years in prison and 12 of those 25 years in solitary confinement. And I remember talking to my supervisor, and I was like, I feel like I don't have anything to offer these men. Like I always thought I would work with women, and she kind of coached me through that. And I found, quite surprisingly, that I had a lot to offer, that I was still able to be present, to be regulated through whatever it was that they were sharing with me. And it really took me by surprise, because you think of sex offenders and you think of, murderers and people who are committing DV as, something kind of scary, or they're monsters, whatever. And they're not, they're just regular people who have their own life histories of trauma and conditioning that has brought them to this point. And they've found themselves in the criminal justice system, and now they're here in classes. Some of them are there willingly, some of them not. But I found that even in the cases where the people really didn't want to be there, that I was able to find a way to connect with them and to provide that space for self-reflection. And it really, really surprised me. I was pleasantly surprised that I felt like I had something to offer. So now, going into the world, I feel really equipped, especially after leaving Ness, to work with all types of people. People who are coming to therapy as self-referred, who just want to work on some aspect of their life. I have found a lot of intrigue in criminality and working with people that, participate in the criminal justice system, who have been formerly incarcerated. And I have found a lot of meaning actually in working with people who are there because of sex offenses, which could not have surprised me more, let me tell you. That population is really frightening to a lot of clinicians, but I felt this internal sort of resonance, like if I can send this person back out into the world with a more internalized sense of what consent is and what intimacy means, and keep this person from reoffending, like in my small way, I will have completely changed the world. Because if you can't help the people that are perpetrating the acts of violence and trauma on others, then we'll never put an end to trauma in life, And so it felt really, really meaningful for me to work with those clients.
Now, I'm not going to diminish your work in the beauty industry, because it's actually very important, because it's beyond superficial. Good people in the industry, it's beyond superficial. You're helping someone identify who they want to be, how they want to be seen, which is a very personal experience. But you're taking it one step further in a way.
Yeah. I mean, in so many ways, and it's kind of hard to describe, and maybe not all beauty technicians are this way, but when you're doing makeup for somebody, you're 2 inches from their face. You're not standing behind them. You're in a very intimate kind of exchange with them. And for some reason, I always, I knew everything about my clients. They would tell me anything and everything. I mean, I cannot emphasize enough that people felt very comfortable sharing really personal things with me. And you learned so much there, as the technician, the nuances and the changes in people's skin, the nuances in the way that they smell, when you're up close to their face like that. And you're able to start to identify really personal and intimate things about them just in their physiology, which you have to know if you're, putting wax on people or you're putting chemicals on people. These are things that you have to know anyway. But that really served as the foundation for my instincts and intuition in my work now. So even though I would never have thought back when I was doing makeup and brows, especially in the early years, that this work and that intimacy would prepare me for marriage and family therapy work, especially with a really intense population, like, people that are engaged in criminality. But it really, really did. And people generally speaking, don't see the way that they really look. They see how they feel. So when they're in your chair and you're putting makeup on them, whether or not they walk away from that experience feeling satisfied has so much to do with if you as a technician can glean how they see themselves inside and what they're struggling with inside. Because people will look at their face and they will see their pain. You know, they'll see their disappointments. They'll see what they think are failures. And it shows up in how they present themselves. So for me, personally, I always paid a lot of attention to that. And when I was building a beauty routine for someone or a look for someone, I always took that into consideration. And I had a very successful career as a makeup artist for that 30 years that I was doing that. I mean, I started when I was 17 and I was still doing it until I was 38, or I'm sorry, 48.
2 years ago.
Yeah, until 2 years ago, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you miss those clients, or do you in many ways feel grateful to them because they helped you?
I feel so grateful to them because I feel like whenever somebody makes a choice to trust you, whether it's with their heart or their emotions or their physical body, it's a really special honor, and so I'm very grateful to them, and I do miss a lot of them, but I'm still in contact actually with a lot of them. I mean, social media allows us to do that now. And, through my cancer journey, I've gotten just as much benefit out of those connections as they have. I've been supported so many different ways by that client base and just, flowers, cards, GoFundMe contributions, wonderful, encouraging gifts and things to kind of help me get through this difficult time in my life because we had heartfelt connections. So I would say definitely, yeah. I mean, I actually just had lunch with one of my clients last week, and I can't really call her a client anymore. She's more a friend now, but I walked away from that 3 decades with a lot of people in my corner. Yeah.
I keep thinking that it's almost a gift from my perspective that you're graduating now.
I know.
Because your lived experiences, honed by your educational training, are going to make you an amazing therapist.
I hope so. Yeah, I really hope so. I mean, I find a lot of fulfillment and meaning in being able to do this work. It has helped me make sense of my own life in ways that are immeasurable, and I couldn't be more grateful for it. And this education at CSUN has actually taken me that step further about how to now show up as a healed version of that person, that I came into the world as, that person that had her struggles and her whatever. I look at myself in the mirror now and I am like, I'm good with you. Like, we're good, And I've also developed a compassion for myself that I didn't have before that has made navigating life and its challenges that we all have, more tolerable. Yeah.
And I also see you, for the future students who may see your video, you're a role model. I know you may not want that mantle, but at the same time, by example, not intentionally, you're showing them it's possible to take the other path,
Yeah.
regardless of your age. Though I have to say, I think you're lying about your age.
I'm definitely not, I promise you.
And regardless of what life may throw at you, you can still pursue that path and get through those obstacles.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't have chosen to define myself as a role model. I mean, I have definitely had periods of chaos in my life, and I have made so many mistakes, and I very often even still make the wrong choice, But I think what I hope to convey to anybody who is looking ahead at their own journey is that life is hard, and it's hard for all of us. And I think that having that internal relationship with yourself that includes compassion and also awareness of your internal inner dialogue to kind of keep you pushing forward is really important. And at the end of the day, life is going to continue on regardless of what's happening to you. Life doesn't pause for any of us, and we can choose to stay in the boat or we can choose to get out of it. And it's a lot harder to crawl out of a hole than it is to walk around one. So whenever you're dealing with anything in life, however hard it is, even if you have to crawl, just keep going.
Thank you. It was an honor to meet you. I really, really feel like it was an honor. I am really excited for your next step.
I am having treatment again in the beginning of May, and so we'll see kind of how things go. But
it will go. Yeah. It will go well. Thank you again, Stacy. And thank you all for joining us for this episode of Student Stories.